Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, November 16th or 17th or 15th. It's the 15th.
November
Been a crazy
15th.
morning. We'll try the 15th.
Friday, November 15th, special meeting, roll call. We have Commissioner Villegas, Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner James, Commissioner Caloza. President James, you do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Lighting.
David Rivera, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Robert Vega, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Ludmila Vertinesian, NA Sanitation and Environment.
Morning, George Espindola, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we did receive 2 speaker cards under general public comment. We also received speaker cards on item number 2, 8, 9, and 11, and we do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section.
Okay, we've got a housekeeping item on number 5, the tree removal at 1309 North Davies Drive. There's been a request that we remove agenda item number 5, so we will do so. Mr. Intuck, are you available now? Okay, because I know that we're kind of going back and forth with City Council, so if you're available now, let's go ahead, and do we have an agenda item on that, Dr. Campos, since our agenda is a little different today?
You do. Today is a little different, so it is a special agenda item, so all agenda for all items. The presentations are scheduled as item number 2 for today. We do have 2, Mr.
I've got
Kent
2 of them. Well, let's take Mr. Intuck first. It's a service recognition for Uduak Joe Intuck, Petroleum Administrator, Office of Petroleum and Natural Gas Administration and Safety. So, Uduak, you can join me at the podium. Kill that clock there, Dr. Campos. Good morning, colleagues and everyone this morning. I know it's always awkward when we do our presentations and we face this way with interested stakeholders that are behind us, but today is a day that comes with mixed emotion. We are very excited, of course, that our Petroleum Administrator is going to head up Dogger at the state, an appointment now of Governor Gavin Newsom. But in line with congratulating Uduak for that, I do want to share a few words as we honor him for the time that he spent with us here in the city of Los Angeles. It was some years ago, and I think everyone here will remember the Aliso Canyon gas leak. In addition to that, we had some abandoned wells that in Council District 1 that were leaking, and we needed to work with the state to manage that. And both of those incidents really reminded the city of Los Angeles that we needed to reinstate a relative, if you will, of a position that had existed many years before. And the city council and the mayor's office got together along with the Board of Public Works and created the Office of the Petroleum Administrator and Natural Gas Safety. And we knew at the time when this office was being created, it would of course be done under the watchful eye of the public, our stakeholders, our constituents, the press, as well as the environmental advocacy community. So we knew how important to the region, in fact, this hire was for the city of Los Angeles in this new position. And it is a new position that, if I recall correctly, it started out, it was one position, right? Just you. And we did promise that we would support our new petroleum administrator in growing the office and developing the position in the office into into what the mayor's vision would be for this interesting position of being an advocate for our communities and environment, while still maintaining the respect of the industry that you have to work with and regulate. We knew as we embarked upon this search that it was going to be a very special person with a very special skill set for us to thread that needle. And in that search process, Uduak Intuk surfaced and really was for us just a real godsend for what we would say where I come from. He was the perfect person for us for so many reasons. One, he was from the Southern California area. He had previously been working for the city of Long Beach. Two, he had the background, the expertise, the knowledge, the experience that we were looking for. Three, he understood the municipal political process. He had the respect of the environmental advocacy community and the respect of the industry that he was going to be working with and indeed regulating. But then so we hired him. And we've patted ourselves on the back, as I've told Uduak, and I've said publicly with another term I use sometimes, we've dined out on his hard work and success for the time that he's been here, which has been great for our city. But once he started, only then, and we anticipated that through the interview process, I sat on the panel, we anticipated that Mr. Intuk would be kind of the complete package for this position, and recognizing that he would be very capable and indeed stellar when it comes to working with the public and working with the press and managing a public presentation and able to be a regular with the city council and the various council committees, as well as the Board of Public Works, the Budget Committee, all that comes with this very important position. And Uduak, you were and have been all of that for the city of Los Angeles. I want to thank you and thank you to your family because I know you worked a lot of weekends and nights and long hours. There's sacrifice, not just from our city employees that do that, but from their families as well. I want to thank you and thank them for your commitment and love for this city that I've seen, that I know that you have. And going forward, it's difficult to lose you for this position, but we've also looked at the other side of the coin here, and we know that it's going to be great to have our former petroleum administrator in this critical position at Dogger, and that'll be not just a benefit for clearly the state, but for the region and for the city of Los Angeles. So congratulations, thank you for everything that you've done. Let me just read what is on our certificate that we'll present Uduak with today. Uduak Intuk, thank you for your distinguished service and dedication to protecting our environment and the public safety and health of all Angelenos. You successfully navigated working with numerous stakeholder groups, including residents, industry, and regulators, and the city has benefited from your efforts. We wish you great success in your future endeavors. Also, thank you, colleagues, for letting me kind of move around our agenda this morning. Uduak is also being represented by the City Council, and as you all know, we will yield to their agenda first, and so he was able to come in at this time. So thank you, sir. I'm going to go take the chair and hear from our colleagues, and then if you have a minute or two, we'd like to hear from you.
I'll go first since President James is getting settled. Uduak, I just want to say for the past 2 years that we've kind of worked together, you've done a great job. You really expanded your office to a large degree, and you taught me all about petroleum, which I had no idea before I got into this position. So thank you for that. And you explained it in a way that it was easily for anybody to understand, but that's what makes you unique, because you're able to translate such a hectic and complicated world into a very simple way of saying it, but very effective. So that's what makes you unique, and I just want to say that to you. I also want to say, because you've done such a good job, because we, the city, have also done such a good job, this is what happens. You get taken away, and now it's representing a whole state, which is great for us as the city, but I just, we're gonna miss you. We're gonna miss your energy in the hallways that you always brought, and your team as well. They're gonna wherever your team is at. Just want to say that they're still very supported by us here at the board, and we see them all the time. So we will definitely make sure that your team continues the work that you started. Congratulations, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. I just wanted to echo the remarks of my colleagues and just give you heartfelt congratulations in your new position, but also thank you so much for your service to the city. Because of you, a lot of lives have been changed, whether or not they know it. You've made the city a little bit more livable in your time here by doing the work that you've done, helping build up our petroleum office. And you have really raised the bar for what we expect from this position. I think the next person, whoever it is, has a lot of really big shoes to fill because of the work that you've done. Just want to say that it's not too late to change your mind. It's really not. You're still here, and so I just wanted to put that out there for you. And it's okay if you do decide to leave us for the state, because we know how to reach you. We know your phone number, and we know that we have a friend in you, in your new position, and that you have a friend in us here at the city. We'll miss you so much, and we can't wait to see what you'll do next. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza. Commissioner Villegas.
I won't belabor this, but I also just wanted to share some congratulations. I know that I was just honored to meet you maybe just a month ago when I started. It seems like we know a lot of folks in common, and it seems that you know your practice so well. So I think that we are very blessed to have you work and represent the state. And my colleagues have also mentioned, we'll have a direct line to you, so we've already built that relationship. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. And one thing before I call, we do have a public speaker on this item, Uduak, before I call you up. But one thing I wanted to mention too, sorry about that. Our agenda's a little different today. One aspect, we just for the public record, we worked hard to try and keep Uduak. We did not just let him go. But we appreciate that Uduak thought that was the best decision for him at this time. We completely understand and congratulate him. But I also, Uduak, want to thank you for the way that you built this office. You've left us, and we appreciate your partnership and support in doing so, but you've left us with a way that we can transition to the next leader to take your seat, whoever that may be. And the office is built in a sufficient way that we can transition to the next leader in a way that we didn't have when we first started to create the office. So we appreciate that. And with that, Dr. Williams, you put in a card on number 2B. So we will hear you, sir. Welcome, Dr. Williams.
Good morning. Dr. Tom Williams, various organizations. Central Point, you did a good job. By the way, don't forget to give him the president.
Well, I know. Accidentally took it.
Yeah.
We're going to take a photo.
I often tell people that I prefer to discuss oil and gas in Taft or even Bakersfield, not in Los Angeles, because I get dizzy with all the spinning that goes on. And Uduak presented a different view. We had some discussions at the very beginning, and he did better than I thought he could in the city of Los Angeles, but he also got the respect that was from the public and from the industry. Yeah, he told them they had to pay some money here and there. He got funding for his group. So a success. And as I tell everybody, no matter how small, celebrate your successes. Thank you. And thank Udak for all that he has done for the city of LA and will do.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. That was your introduction, Mr. Intuck.
Hey, thank you, President James, commissioners, Dr. Campos, and staff. It's really been a professional highlight for me to work here. It's one of those things where I guess I've hit the second time where I go, well, this is a job maybe I can get in 10 years, happens. And so it's hard to say no. But, excuse me. But it's been great working with the different departments, the staff, the community. We've had our ups and downs, but it's making sure you're talking to everybody. And when you get everybody in the room, you start finding out there are common ground. There are solutions that everyone is agreeable to. And so being able to do, I think, some really transformative things of a disputed oil site, whether or not it was an injector or a producer, is now abandoned, cleaned up, in an affordable housing development, which is helping the housing crisis in the city and taking away a contentious legal battle that saves the city money. We've done tremendous work of just digitizing the pipeline franchise agreements that were formerly done on Excel invoices and now are in our financial management services, and be able to make sure that we're accounting for and bringing in more than $20 million in revenue to the city. We've been able to partner with our external regulatory agencies, whether AQMD, Dogger, the Water Board, the Fire Department, just really bringing everybody together. We had a joint meeting about 2 weeks ago, all day in Dogger's and state office, and we've been working together for 3 years and no one had seen each other's faces. And it's just because there's so many different agencies and the work is so decentralized that we finally got a day to spend together. And it's difficult to get government together because everybody has limited budgets and conflicting priorities, but we were able to do it. So it's been really my honor. It's kind of surreal, like, oh, this is the second largest city in America. There's a lot going on in the city. There are a lot of bureaucratic processes to follow, but I really want to thank Dr. Campos. He's been one of the most talented administrators I've worked with, of just the nuance of board policy, budgetary policy, council policy. There's so much you have to go through to make sure that all the T's and I's are dotted and crossed, and it makes a difference. So I'm thankful for the opportunity. This new role at the state, they're actually changing the organization. I will be officially the last Dogger supervisor in California history. Dogger will change January 1st to CalGEM, Geological Energy Management Division. And so it'll be for oil and gas, geothermal operations, gas storage fields, and carbon capture and sequestration. And it's changing the mission about climate change, carbon footprint management statewide in those regulated industries. And so it's going to be a challenge, but an opportunity for all of us to hit our 2030, 2040 greenhouse gas goals, but at the same time making sure that we are protecting the economy and the tax revenue and the jobs, but doing what's right by the environment for people. And so thank you for the recognition today. It's been a pleasure to serve and look forward to continue to work together.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Intuck. We will take one quick recess for a photograph. Yep, and then we'll return to our agenda. Okay, let's go to agenda item. What number is our? I'm sorry, Dr. Campos. I'm all number 12. One moment. Let me run over back to the podium again. And Mr. Zaldivar, you can join me. Morning, sir. How are you? Colleagues, you know, at the board we have the opportunity to celebrate or commemorate many different occasions. We have a few of those today. Today, though, I'm pleased to say that we are celebrating America Recycles Day. And I know that I expected to see much more about it in the entertainment news shows than I saw last night, but I thought since they didn't cover America Recycles Day, then we should. Los Angeles, of course, has been at the forefront of many sustainability initiatives. And with the LA, with our Green New Deal, we are already making significant progress in the arena of recycling. And this is, of course, an industry that in many ways has been in turmoil right now, and Los Angeles continues to be at the forefront of finding significant resolutions to the challenges that we're seeing. So it's recycling from plastic to water and food waste. And I don't think it's a stretch at all to say that Los Angeles regularly serves as a model for both the state, the county, and the country when it comes to caring for the environment. To achieve the lofty goals of the Green New Deal, it takes the commitment and hard work of all of us here in Los Angeles. City leadership, city staff, and neighborhood residents are all doing their part to create a cleaner and greener future. So I want to thank LA Sanitation and Environment for the work that they do every day as was I the first one to coin the Environmental Protection Agency for the city, or has that been around for a while? No, you okay, well, I'll take credit for it. But seriously, and I talk about it in partnership with the Department of Water and Power, but when I talk, especially to people outside of the city of Los Angeles, when I explain the broad scope of LA Sanitation and Environment, I really do say that one of the best ways to describe what you do is serve as the Environmental Protection Agency for the city of Los Angeles, and that also means the region. And I do want to thank you, Enrique, to you and your team for making the effort today to demonstrate how we properly recycle. So with that, I'm going to turn the podium over to Enrique for our special presentation today.
Thank you, Commissioner. You know, and as important as recycling is, we have come to take it for granted. So thank you for making the time to commemorate, recognize, and highlight what this day means. America Recycles Day is a constant reminder for us to take the broader approach to our environmental protection mission, which is it's broader than just the act of recycling. It's resource recovery, it's resource conservation, it's environmental protection, it's ecological restoration, it's biodiversity, and on and on and on. It's water recycling, as the Commissioner mentioned. All of it encompassed under the resource recovery ethic that we in LA San and the department as a whole, I know, embraces. So America Recycles Day is a national day dedicated to the importance of recycling. As the city's environmental agency, as Commissioner James alluded and recognized us as being, LA San is proud of the work we have done when it comes to recycling as a specific action of incredible impact for our conservation of our environment. On the one hand, servicing 750,000 residents every single day or in the course of a week with our recycling program at the curbside level, to introducing our latest adaptation and transformation in this landscape with the implementation of the Recycla program. And we're very thankful and appreciative to our Recycla partners, the RSPs, who have come to be known as, who are joining us here today. Suddenly, the impact of recycling has quadrupled, has multiplied by the collaboration and the partnership between the city and what had always been private partners on the outside, sort of. Now we're all on the inside for the benefit of the residents. So it's an incredible potential of what we as a city will be able to do in the years to come as we move away from landfilling 1 year at a time. And as the commissioner alluded to in the Mayor's Green LA plan, by 2050, we will be completely out of landfilling. So today is a great day to encourage everyone in Los Angeles to take the America Recycles Day pledge, but we know it's now more of a reminder than it is a new act. Recycling happens every single day. And yes, as with any other large program, it has its challenges. Right now, we're challenged by the state of the markets. I appreciate the leadership from the board, all of you. I know of late, Commissioner Garcia has been helping us with the expansion of the markets into North America. Well, I should say not into North America, in North America, because we are in North America.
Within North America.
Yeah, that includes Canada and Mexico. Why we never had thought of it that way, it's not the question anymore. But how do we then make it real in short order? Because it cannot wait forever, and it won't. The partners on the private sector are helping a great deal as well. And to help everyone today with the America Recycles Day pledge, we have a very short and brief demonstration. And this reminds me of what Commissioner Calosa convened yesterday, a discussion about languages and how we communicate to our customers, to the residents. Because one thing is to design a plan, design a system, but how do we communicate it so that it's effective? And languages come into play, and so thank you for really drilling down on how we best communicate. Something that can be complicated if we don't communicate it well. And to demonstrate the ease of recycling, we have with us our recycling ambassadors who do this every day, day in and day out, household by household, to demonstrate what to recycle and what not to recycle. At some point, we will get to the time in which everything is recycled. That's what we are aspiring to put in place. So I'd like to ask one of our two ambassadors, two of our 7 ambassadors, who just by themselves, or 7, cover the entire city. So you can imagine how busy they are. I would like to ask Jose Alonso, who is a star in his own right. He's been on more television shows than probably Commissioner James has. Commissioner James has. And then also Robert Watson, who's one of our newer ambassadors. If you guys can come up and just give us what you do every single day.
Good morning, board. Jose Alonso, this is Robert Watson. And like Enrique says, the program's been around for 12 years. We were here 12 years ago when it was funded. It was envisioned by Enrique. And our main task is to monitor recycling routes, blue trash cans. Today we're in South LA, their collection days today. And our main task is to literally go through the trash can, through the recycling bin, and point out any contaminants, anything that shouldn't be in there. We're currently doing green. We're doing green, trying to get everything, because, you know, we make mulch. We make our mulch out of everything we pull out of the green can. But we're also education and outreach, so we do council events. We just did Central Jazz Festival. We do career days at Unified, LA Unified. We do anything to do with recycling. We have 2 of our ambassadors at Willowbrook, it's a medical center in Willowbrook. They're right now doing a wellness fair, handing out information and literature, the Sharpie containers where residents could put their Sharpies, and then they take them to our safe centers or to CVS collects them. I think Kaiser collects them. So we're pretty much outreach and education. So I brought some stuff here. Like I said, like Enrique says, the recycling is back and forth. So Robert, you want to? Yeah. but I'm sure it's recyclable. And we have these little pamphlets. You guys, I brought one.
My favorite type of donut.
We got all the, those are the original 8 ambassadors. So here we have a Krispy Kreme. It's clean. It's not, it's not soiled. Like pizza boxes, if they're too soiled, if it's too soiled, it doesn't go in the blue. So this is it's pretty much, there's no stain, there's no soiled. And then we got our Progresso lentil can. It's rinsed out. We usually, people say rinse it out. What we try to do is remove as much of the material as possible. Because also water is a contaminant. And if you start rinsing things out, a little bit of water in our trucks compress. You know, they have a packing system. So a little bit of water could contaminate a lot of material. So do the best you can. We tell the residents and clean out your can. Put this down here. And then of course we got junk mail. That's paper. That's a good material. It's recyclable. As long as it's not soiled. As long as it's clean and not soiled. Cardboard. It's not the best material, but it's still recyclable and it's clean. And this might not be recyclable. It's recyclable, but it might, some of the MRFs, this material here, sometimes it's not recyclable. If it's in the bin, if it's not a large quantity, we'll go ahead and leave it in the bin. This is not recyclable. Like in the blue can, or in any can. Like Enrique says, one day we will recycle everything, but clothing is a big issue. People think it's recyclable, which there's probably a market for it, but we just don't accept it in our blue can. A couple of things like trash. Yeah, aerosol can. It's good. Liquids out of it, so that's good. Let's see what else we got. Of course, glass. Sparkling wine. It's a glass, green glass, but it's good. And I rinsed it out a little bit, but you know, not too much. Like I said, we don't want too much water in there. My wife thinks that.
It's non-alcoholic.
It's cider, apple cider, and this is plastic. So I mean cardboard, so that's acceptable. Our contract, our MRFs will say it's office paper, you know, so that's good material. It's nice bleached white paper. Let's see what else. Oh, aluminum can, of course. And of course, aluminum cans. We see them mount, but sometimes we have people going through our bins, and they pull out. They know what to pull out of the bin. So aluminum cans, of course, empty. Plastic, of course. Plastic is always smashed or however. You know, sometimes I take the air out of it.
Are they designed to crunch down?
Robert does. Every time Robert drinks,
Yeah,
he like
they're
crushes
and then
it.
you put the lid on and it holds it down.
Right. Show him, Robert.
Yeah.
Robert, got the grip.
Yeah. There you go. That's
Robert
what I
drinks
do.
a lot of water when we're out there.
You put the lid on it holds it that way.
Got more cans. Cardboard. So, lasagna, Trader Joe's, cardboard. Again, it's not soiled, not that much, so it's good. If it's soiled, we'd rather you put it in the black can. We tell residents.
So, such as perhaps political mailers.
They go, well, you can
Recycle bin?
Depends. No, in a recycle bin. Right. In a shredder, yeah. In a shredder, then it gets shredded. I don't.
We didn't have any here today, but we have cereal boxes,
Okay.
cookie boxes and stuff.
Again, it's plastic, but it's not really a plastic that's recyclable. But if it's in the can, if I see one of these, we'll leave it in the can. We don't want to discourage the resident. You know, we want them to recycle more, so we don't want to discourage them.
Yeah, we always want to let the residents know that we're trying to get to zero waste.
Right.
So we're out to educate, talk to the residents, and educate them on how and what to put in our containers so that we can recycle, so that we can get to zero waste.
So let me just say a couple of things. We appreciate the work that you do across across our city. There are two kind of facilities that sanitation are very involved in. One at Discovery Cube with education for typically younger folks, although we had some fun there earlier this week on, and I like not that I'm a competitive person at all, but at the Environmental Learning Center at Sanitation at Hyperion, there's also a recycling exercise there in a competition. Not that I was ever in competition with a particular council member who represents that area, nor would I have ever beaten him more than once, way back in those early years. But I do appreciate the facility that exists there. And I've got to say, I was sitting here while you were presenting to us, Mr. Alonso, Googling you, because I know that you're a recycling celebrity. And sure enough, Los Angeles Times with Steve Lopez, and the headline of "I brought my blue bin to work," and it is not easy, as anyone in government at any level can tell you, to impress Steve Lopez.
Yeah.
But you did.
I just played the part. I let him take the lead.
Congratulations.
We do schools, because I say,
The schools,
young minds,
yeah.
and then they take it home.
It's the best thing.
Third grade.
Yeah. Teach them young. Because
teach 'em
it
they
is
take it
something
home.
that
They
you
take
have
it
to
home.
remind yourself about all the time.
We like to tell them the 3 R's. Reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Exactly.
We like to add the one more R, which is to remember.
Robert brought that one up.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having us
Thank you.
here.
Thank
Smart.
you. Mr. Zaldivar.
You can leave it here.
All facilities will take care of it.
See how the next speakers handle the podium.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
To close, Mr. President and board members, depending on how your time is looking, we do have several of our partners here in the audience. If you would be so kind to maybe give them an opportunity to also
Yes,
see how they
please.
celebrate.
I know that we have
America.
representatives from NASA and WARE and Republic, and Waste Management brought a couple of folks. I think that's an understatement. So whoever would like to,
Any of our RSP partners who would like to speak about what today represents?
welcome, sir. Good to see you again.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sean Finn. I'm the Community Relations Manager for Republic Services. We represent the Northeast Valley and the South LA zone. We have a handful of our zero waste account reps here. We're very happy to support LA Sanitation and be involved in the America Recycles Day. One thing we do want to remind all of our constituents and customers: clean, dry, and empty when it comes to the materials that you're putting in your blue bin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to all of your colleagues that came out this morning. Anyone from Waste Management? Welcome back.
Hi, I'm Kim Lort with Waste Management. I'm the contract manager for Recicla. First of all, I want to say thank you for having us here. America's Recycling Day is important for all Angelinos, as well as my entire team. I have 3 rows here of my team, Waste Management. And I want to say, when we first started the Recicla, I mean, there was some resistance as far as like customers and coming out and saying, no, it's not important. But I will tell you, the turnaround and the improvement and everything that's happened, the change has been just such an amazing experience. We've spent a lot of time, with our partners, the City of LA, and they have been great. And I look forward to truly seeing more of a change and really getting to the zero waste. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Any representatives from NASA or WARE that want to say anything? Oh, welcome, sir. Good to see you again.
Good morning. My name is Cyrus Javaheri. I lead the team in downtown LA. This is our zone within the confine of 4 freeways. As my counterpart just said, it was a little resistance in the beginning, but it's almost disappeared now. And thanks to the city for implementing removing barriers to recycling. Ever since we've had that and implemented that, we used to get anywhere from 5 to 20 contamination notices a day, and now it's maybe 1 every other day. So people have actually embraced it. They're recycling property, and this has made the job much easier. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And we also Ware and Athens, too. Good to see you again, sir.
Hi, I'm Jason Rush from Ware Disposal, and I agree with pretty much what everything's been said to date. So there's not much I can add. Thanks.
Thank you. Don't leave yet. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Good morning, everyone. Amanda Mejia, Government Affairs Manager with Athens Services. We are extremely excited to be participating and supporting LA Sanitation with America Recycle Day. We look forward to the partnerships that we have with our community groups as well. It's worked out with the chambers and with the bids and other community groups. We look forward to sharing the word and partnering with the council offices. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just say, since we have representatives from our recycling service providers, our recycle service providers that are here today, along with Enrique, your team, Daniel Myers, I don't know if Alex is here or not, but you know, there's a couple references made about the beginning of the program, and I've said this before, but I don't know that I've said it with all of you that are here today. And we were there, obviously, through the birth of this program to today. And when the program rolled out, this was a huge feat. We took the second largest city in the United States and moved it from what was appropriately characterized as a wild, wild west system into an exclusive trash franchise system that brought, for the first time, to some willing multifamily units and businesses, and some not so willing, brought recycling to them to help us not only improve our environment and the benefits that come with that, but to also meet our state mandates. And today, you know, we have, for a while we were meeting very often at the very beginning, appropriately so. Now we just meet every 2 weeks. But yesterday was our internal franchise meeting. And every meeting now, week after week after week, or bi-week after bi-week after bi-week, the first agenda item was always a service update. In the beginning, that was often the longest part of the meeting because we were getting through the speed bumps that will always happen with a transition that we did in the city of Los Angeles. Now in that meeting, that aspect, that agenda item takes about 15 seconds. The reason is because all of you, our service providers that are here today, your companies, have gotten to the point that you achieve the same level of pickup success that sanitation reaches, just about, that sanitation reaches every day, which is over 99.9%. So we don't get those kinds of calls. Now we know that with an occasional reroute that happens, we're going to hear some phone calls for that provider on that route only. And that still has to happen because we're still in the early years of this program, but it doesn't happen often. And that seems like it's about wrapped up. But we have gotten to the point of it is regularized. It is steady. We don't get those kinds of complaints anymore. And I want to thank you all for that and for the period of time that it took to work out the kinks. Because collectively, we worked out the kinks in about a year. We thought it might be 18 months. I don't think it took 18 months. So thank you to all of you, and we really appreciate all the hard work, and we're proud of the program. There will always be aspects of a program this large that will be the continued topics of discussion, and that's why we're here. But I want to thank you all for for that work and for what has now become a model for other cities in the country, and they're looking at this model and a lot differently than they were 3 or 4 years ago. So thank you, everybody, for that. Pre-K, anything else? Anything else on your end? No. Okay, great. So thank you. That's our presentation for American Recycles Day, although I would like to grab a photo with Robert Jose, the executive team, and a couple representatives from each of the haulers that are here today. Yeah, we can do that over here. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Next time yell at me. Okay, and we have one more presentation on a retirement this morning. Mr. Red, you are here because we have a retirement recognition for Kent Welling, who's a civil engineering at the Bureau of Engineering. And I understand that Mr. Welling and I might have a little bit in common, but go ahead, sir.
All right, good morning. Ken Red, Bureau of Engineering. I've asked Commissioner Caloza to come.
And Commissioner Caloza.
Yeah, since this certificate comes from the board, I thought that I shouldn't be here by myself. Kent, if you would come up and join me. Just give you a little bit of background. We're here and we're honored to be here today to celebrate Kent's 30 years of service that I guess officially ended yesterday. It was his last day at work. I'll give you just a little bit of background, and we'll start with the first one just for you, President James. Kent was born in Oklahoma City.
Oh, I heard that.
Okay, I thought you'd like to hear that publicly.
I was born in Norman, so just south of you.
And I learned a few things about Kent. I thought I knew him pretty well. He was born in Oklahoma, then his parents moved to Utah. His dad was a engineer for the Federal Aviation, FAA.
My grandfather was an engineer at the FAA.
So you got a lot
in Oklahoma City, as a matter of fact.
Of
go ahead.
They later moved to Logan, Utah, and then his parents took jobs in the Philippines. You might be interested in that. This is the thing that I didn't know. Kent graduated from high school in the Philippines at age 15. While he was in the Philippines, he met his future wife, Beth, who's here today, along with his mother, who's here today joining him. After graduating from high school, he moved back to Logan, Utah, where he attended Utah State University, majoring in civil engineering. And while he was at the university, at Utah State University, that's where he and his wife Beth were married. They had their first child, Joy, and later had two sons, Stephen and Timothy. As you may remember, Joy followed her father's footsteps and was an employee of the Bureau of Engineering. Unfortunately, a year and a half ago or so, we lost Joy, but I'm sure she's here in spirit today. Fortunately for the Bureau, Kent, kind of on a whim, and I won't go too much in because he may want to talk about that, but decided to interview on campus. 30 years ago, the Bureau of Engineering was going across the nation recruiting engineers. And he interviewed and was offered a same-day job offer, and fortunately accepted that offer, and he came to the city 30 years ago. And it was my pleasure then to get to know Kent. We were in the same group. We carpooled together. I got to know him and his family. And the first thing that you'll find is that you won't find a nicer person than Kent. He is the most pleasant person, always greets you very respectfully with a smile. But he's also an engineer's engineer. He just comes to work, does his job, and you find out really quick, don't argue with him on technical issues because he's always right. A great resource. Kent stayed in that same division with the exception of a year or so stint as a board council liaison, stayed in that same division. They changed their name a few times, changed what they did, but Kent became our resident expert in hydraulics. And for the last 17 years or so has been out at the hydraulics research lab where he's done computer and physical modeling of hydraulic structures for the Bureau. He's also in our design standards group, and we have sent him across the nation and to a few foreign countries to approve products and manufacturing facilities. And he is going to leave a huge hole in the Bureau of Engineering. So I want to just thank him personally as a friend and also as a colleague for all of his dedicated service to the city and to the Bureau. And we have this certificate, and I think we found out yesterday there's a slight error in this, but the more I hear from his colleagues, it may not be wrong. It says in recognition of 32 years of employment with the City of Los Angeles, with the Board of Public Works, honors Kent Welling, civil engineer. Congratulations on your 30 years of outstanding public service. The 30 years is correct, and as Brad Jensen just pointed out to me, it would be easier to change the little 30 to 32 than it would be to change the big 32 to 30. So maybe Kent could stay another couple of years. They're lobbying hard to keep him here.
We'll get it corrected to Kent's preference.
We will do that. But anyway, it is with great honor and with the remarks of the city engineer who couldn't be here today, we thank you for your service to the city. And you will leave a huge hole in the Bureau with your knowledge and, more importantly, just your outstanding human being. And it's just a pleasure to have worked with you for these past 30 years. So, Kent, congratulations.
And I'll repeat what I said earlier to Mr. Untuck. And it also goes for you that it's not too late to change your mind. And I don't think that typo was by accident. And so I just, want to echo what Ken said. We really thank you for your commitment to the city, your commitment to the Bureau of Engineering, to Public Works. This city is a better place because of your service. And I know that we'll be calling on you and asking you a lot of questions, especially since there is a hydraulics item and that the laboratory and our partnership with USC that's on the board today. And so that's incredibly fitting that it happened to fall, as we also recognize all the efforts that you put into making that possible. So congratulations to you. Thank you for your service. And it's so nice to see your family here. And I appreciate the Filipino connection, Ken.
Kent, let me just say, again, thank you for your service. 30 years, or if you stay 2 more, 32, whatever period of time. You've seen a lot in the city of Los Angeles, and you've seen incredible progress and incredible change, and really just a completely different way of delivering city services. And one of the things that's so great about engineering and what has made our Bureau of Engineering so famous is the Bureau's ability to not only adapt to those changes, but to lead in them. And if you think back over the years, in just the few years since we started as the mayoral administration in 2013, the number of areas where the Bureau of Engineering is tapped to lead is a testament really to all of you, to your work and that of your colleagues. And the most recently, it kind of happens almost every day it seems, but most notably, most recently, in connection with the Bridge Home program that's happening in the city of Los Angeles that engineering is the project manager on. We just opened one 2 days ago, and I know we have 26 coming on in the next 19 months. But you've had such an amazing career here. It's always bittersweet when we have people like you leave. We're excited for the next chapter of your life, and at the same time, as Ken Red mentioned, you never replace the institutional knowledge that walks out the door. Your bureau has done as good as any department in the city at succession planning, which is good. That enables a transition to happen successfully. But we always lose that institutional knowledge, and we thank you for your service to our great city. And I do have to say thank you to you for sharing joy with us for the years that she was here. I know she's greatly missed, and it's hard to see you leaving as well. And I just wanted to thank you and thank you, your family. The close connections that you have, I'm going to include myself in a presenter now because of Oklahoma City and FAA, and then Utah with Ken Red. He's a Utahn, and although a different alma mater that also likes blue and white, and then the Filipino connection with Commissioner Caloza. But truly, thank you for an incredible career with us, and I know you'll continue to watch what the city does with excitement, because in your area of expertise, things are going to change in the next 5 years, I think, more rapidly than they have in the last 10 years. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much. So, President James and Commissioners and Dr. Campos, if I can just take a couple of minutes. As far as the Norman connection, my mother actually got a graduate degree from Oklahoma University, so it's even deeper yet. And she wanted to get her doctorate degree at Utah State University. That's what brought us to Logan. And both my parents were consultants in the Philippines. Commissioner, I'm not sure if you are familiar with the province of Bukidnon. Bukid means kind of boondocks in the middle of nowhere, so we were in the middle of nowhere, but I found a gem, the prize of my life, my wife Beth there. So 30 years goes incredibly fast. One thing when Enrique Zaldivar talked about running out of landfills in 2050, that's 30 years from now. That's going to be here before we know it, so it's really important that we not put off things too long and plan for the future. I've been greatly blessed to have worked for the Bureau of Engineering. I first became interested in wastewater treatment when I was 10 years old. I was bused across city to another school, and we'd passed a wastewater treatment plant, and I'd look at that plant every day, just amazed at how kind of dirty water was turned into clean water. And so when recruiters came up to Utah State University and were looking for people to expand their wastewater program, and having an interest in wastewater, as Ken alluded to, I kind of interviewed on a lark. I had no intention of coming to Los Angeles. My father came to LA during the Depression from Idaho and had a bad experience and was sent back, so he never liked LA, but I love LA. And it's been very good to me. I've been blessed with great supervisors and managers who've allowed me to expand my career, give me opportunities to learn and to grow. I've been able to give back to the city. I wish I had two lives. I wish I could continue to work with the Bureau another 10 years or so. I know there's some employees that stick around up to 50 years. That would be great, but we only have one life to live, and there's other things that I need to do in my life. So again, I'd just like to thank you, President, and the commissioners for this honor. I'm deeply touched, and like to thank the city in general.
Thank you, sir. We just one quick recess, Kent, with you and your family. We'll take a quick photo, and then we'll be back to our regular agenda. Thank you.
Let's take off your visitor badge. Okay, thank you, everyone. We will, and congratulations again, and thank you to Kent Wellington. Let's take our general public comment, since we've gotten through our presentations, before we get to our voting items. I've got a couple of general comment cards. Dr. Williams on general public comment first.
we're still morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Tom Williams, Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community, Sierra Club, Audubon, a few others. Basically, two things. We just talked about recycling. However, all three bins on the Mission Street mulch supply are empty this morning. Same way with 19th Street, empty this morning. And everybody starts collecting tomorrow morning around 7 o'clock. So we're quite concerned that we need more replenishment, especially at Mission, because everybody uses it. And it's a win, win, win. We use it here, we generate it here, we produce the feedstock for it here. So it saves a lot of diesel going to Bakersfield or Kern County. Second one, yesterday I experienced my first kind of workshop. That is, everything had to be online, but I said, my battery is only 30%. Get online. You have a good model in the planning department. It's called ZIMUS, a GIS-based system so that we could find out when you're going to have street cleaning, when you're going to do this, when you're going to do that, because ZIMUS already has the acronyms for it. It has all of the CDs, neighborhood councils, etc. Whether there's an oil well or not, you've used it a little bit. You touched ZIMUS. And I would highly recommend that in the near future, you get a ZIMUS-like database system for all activities of the Department of Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Hayden Ashworth. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hello, President, Commissioners, and Department representatives. My name is Hayden Ashworth. I'm the elected renter representative for Greater Worcester Neighborhood Council and the firstly appointed Public Works Liaison for Greater Worcester Neighborhood Council.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I just want to take this time to introduce myself, and I look forward to working with you the next 2 years. Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Ashworth, let me tell you something real quick. If you may already know this, but if not, I just want to put it on the record so that we have a neighborhood council category of commentary.
Yes.
So for items that you work on, that we're working on, you're not limited to the 2 minutes.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I appreciate
Great.
that.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great
Thank you
day.
for your patience this morning. Appreciate it. And tell your team I said hi over there. It's been a while since I've been. All right. So that'll close general public comment. Agenda item number 4, Council District 8, policy number 800, authority to revise the impact area O of Transportation Construction Traffic Management Committee to include the Destination Crenshaw project. Recommending that the board first authorize the city engineer to revise the impact area O of Transportation Construction Traffic Management Committee to include the alignment of the project to the major transit and transportation construction impact area in accordance with Los Angeles Municipal Code. We do these on occasion. And Larry, you'll let us know what's going on. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Good morning. I'm Larry Hsu from the Bureau of Engineering Metro Transit Division. The board report before you is a request to authorize the city engineer to revise one of the existing TCTMC, that is short for Major Transit and Transportation Construction Management Committee, to include the Destination Crenshaw project. The TCTMC impact area maps are used to identify traffic impacting construction and activities which need to be coordinated with a major transit or transportation project. Inclusion of the Destination Crenshaw project in the Area O map will support the project because it will require that activities and permits are coordinated with the Destination Crenshaw project. The Destination Crenshaw project itself is a community-based, it's a community beautification and public benefit project led by Council District 8. Since the geographic limits of the Destination Crenshaw project coincide with the existing Area O map, and since the project schedule also coincides with the Crenshaw LAX project, it was not necessary to generate a separate impact area or map for this project, but rather only to include the Destination Crenshaw project in the existing map. So that's what we're doing, just changing the title of the map. Additionally, the Destination Crenshaw project is already coordinating closely with Metro and many city departments, including all the departments represented on the TCTMC, that is BOE, Streets LA, BCA, and LADOT. And that concludes my report. Kristen Gordon was here from CD8 to support this action.
Yeah, they let me know they
she had to run
support
off.
it. Yeah. All right, I don't have any questions on this, Larry. I know we do these on occasion. So I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4. Mr. Del Garza, thank you for being here as well from the mayor's office. That was a second from Commissioners Caloza and Garcia. Any objection? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I just went by sound. Sorry, I thought I heard. Okay, it was Commissioner Villegas. It came from your general vicinity, Commissioner Garcia. So the second is from Commissioners Villegas and Caloza. Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Thank you, Mr. Hsu. Any issue sending number 4 forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith. Let's go ahead and take, well, agenda item number 1 is our approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, October 8th, 2019. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes by Commissioner Garcia? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 2 we have done already. Agenda item number 3, memorandum, this is Council District 13, memorandum of understanding, University of Southern California and Bureau of Engineering for partnership and use of the Bureau of Engineering Hydraulic Research Laboratory. Recommending that the board approve and award the report with a transmittal to the mayor and city council, requesting the following. Approve and, A, authorize the city engineer to execute the memorandum of understanding between the city and the University of Southern California, that's USC, for the partial use of the Bureau of Engineering Hydraulics Research Lab for modeling portions of the LA River, including $15,000 from USC, to partially fund requested health and safety renovations. Secondly, authorize the city engineer to accept up to $15,000 from USC for requested health and safety renovations at the Engineering Hydraulic Research Lab as detailed in the MOU. Third, authorize the Department of Public Works Director of Accounting to appropriate funds up to $15,000 from USC and pursuant to the MOU into the new appropriation unit titled Hydraulics Research Laboratory Health and Safety Renovations for USC within the Engineering Special Services Fund, Fund number 682 of Department number 50. And fourth, authorize the city engineer to make any technical or accounting corrections necessary in order to effectuate the intent of the city council and instruct the Bureau of Engineering to report back on the status of the partnership with USC and the modeling of the Los Angeles River. Mr. Jensen on number 3.
Good morning, Brad Jensen. I'm with the Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division. This item, the University of Southern California has created a multidisciplinary project titled the Los Angeles River Integrated Design Lab in order to provide integrated design support and research for the United States Army Corps of Engineers, Los Angeles River Ecosystem Restoration Project, and other adopted LA River plans. A team of USC faculty, graduate students, and participating consultants will participate in the construction of physical hydraulic models. The scaled physical models will serve as an invaluable and efficient means to explore design options within the highly constrained hydraulic conditions of the LA River and maximize the quality of design for the project and other adopted plans. The city, the Bureau of Engineering, and LA River Works and the Office of Mayor Eric Garcetti are collaborating in this research project to facilitate the design of multi-benefit river plans integrated with necessary flood protection performance. One of the city's principal contributions includes a proposed 3-year term use of a portion of the Bureau of Engineering's hydraulic lab located at 2400 Altman Street. The MOU has been prepared, which establishes the terms and conditions for using a portion of the lab with the USC's School of Architecture. The use is solely intended for performing modeling efforts regarding the LA River and without impacting the ongoing day-to-day operations of city-related hydraulic projects. The Bureau of Engineering will provide occasional in-house engineering support and training. As we heard before, substantial work has been performed by Kent Welling, as well as Edward Arrington, and Rob Hunting is also now going to be stepping in to provide some of that support. The city attorney has reviewed the MOU and has found it acceptable. USC has committed $15,000 to the city from an associated grant to compensate the city for the cost of health and safety renovations that they requested. Therefore, the Bureau of Engineering recommends that the Board of Public Works authorize the city engineer to execute the referenced MOU and forward this report to the mayor and city council for final approval on the partial use of the city facility, as well as transfer the USC funds to the Bureau of Engineering's designated fund.
Thank you.
Any questions at all? Commissioner Garcia.
All I want to say is that I support this program. I did get a briefing from you. I think it was from you.
Yes.
yes, it was you. And I fully support this program mostly because it's a USC partnership. That really is the reason why. But I do support it because I feel like we are actually doing an extension to a university that's within our city. And that's good to see that we are be able to, if this can be a mechanism also to hire some folks from USC and to bring in, and so you keep City of LA in LA with LA. So that's what I'm saying. So I fully support this program, and I wish you a lot of luck, and I hope it expands and it grows.
Okay, thank you.
With that, I move, unless anybody else has any issues.
No, I'll second Commissioner Garcia's motion. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Thank you. I'm looking at number 7. We'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issues sending 3 forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Let's go to number 7. From our executive office, Board of Public Works holiday and recess schedule for the calendar year 2020. Gosh, it's 2020 soon. We're recommending that the board establish and approve the proposed Board of Public Works holiday and recess schedule for calendar year 2020. Dr. Campos on this one.
Good morning, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. The item before you is a proposal to approve the recess schedule for calendar year 2020. The calendar year 2020 recess schedule includes 2 recess periods: the summer recess period, which is between June 29th and July 3rd. It includes also the 4th of July holiday that is afforded to all city employees and all Americans. And in addition to that, also the winter 2020 recess, which includes about 7 days off, 2 of those being holidays that are afforded to us also through our MOUs and other non-represented contracts that the city has. In total, we are requesting a total of 22 days to be off. 11 of them are illegal holidays. 7 of them are what I just described, the winter and summer recess periods. In addition to that, we are proposing 4 non-legal holidays to celebrate faith-based days off. For example, we are recommending to recess for Good Friday on Friday, April 10th, the beginning of Ramadan, which is Friday, April 24th, the beginning of Rosh Hashanah on Friday, September 18th, and also the beginning of Yom Kippur at sunset on Monday, September 28th.
So those are meeting holidays, not necessarily when people aren't at work, but that's up to them.
On holidays, yes.
But for meeting holidays, this is the recess calendar. That's the same recess calendar we've had the last couple of years, with the exception of, for 2020, you're adding 1 day during the winter recess, correct?
That is correct. We are proposing that additional day on Monday, January 4th, just in the event that anyone is traveling, coming back into town. May be easier for those that want to come back on a Monday as opposed to coming back on Saturday or Sunday and avoid that flight frenzy, if you will. So we're providing that additional day and then coming back to recess on Wednesday, January 6th, 2021.
So you've been here a few years, Dr. Campos. Did we, for this year coming up next month, did we add dates from prior years, say 16, 17, 18?
In the past, it was only 1 week. So about 3 years ago, we used to only take 1 week off. So that included the 1 holiday plus 2 recess periods in addition to the holiday. Last year, 2 years ago, we added an additional week just to allow staffers to either take time off or the commissioners to be out of the office. So one of the issues that we had, or one of the challenges that we had, is that we had commissioners taking time off. Trying to set a quorum right after the holidays was more difficult. In addition to that, allows the executive officer and the assistant executive officer to take time off during this time period. This also aligns a little bit more closely to what City Council, not as much, but a little closer to what City Council does when they're taking recess time period for the holidays. In the winter time, they take close to 30 days off as opposed to 14 days.
I remember I think my insensitivity on this issue got outvoted in a prior year, seriously, in the sense that I don't have any kids, and I know that there were some issues from colleagues that had children that were in LAUSD schools. And so one of the things we wanted to do is to better align it with that vacation time, which I thought made complete sense.
Summer and spring recess. So spring recess was something that I had proposed about 2 years ago, and that was not approved by this board. So therefore, only the summer and the winter recess periods were approved.
Okay.
But we're always happy to entertain additional time off.
It's not going to come from me, but
I'm not proposing it, but
understood.
I will entertain it.
But I appreciate the additional day, and I do think it aligns well with what the LAUSD calendar is for folks that have kids in schools. Any other questions or comments? Anybody want to make a motion on this one? Commissioner Garcia, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Thank you. Any issues sending number 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 8 is a sole source for graffiti removal contracts with OCB contractors to provide a continuation of graffiti removal through June 2021. That's 18 months. Recommending that the board first find that pursuant to LACC section 371 sub E, that it is in the best interest of the city to sole source graffiti removal contracts due to limited timing to competitively bid the service in order to meet revised prevailing wage requirements. Secondly, authorize OCB to execute contracts for a continuation of graffiti removal services through June 30th, 2021, as listed below. And there's just a bunch of these, so let me scroll through. Central City Action Committee in the amount of $474,600 with a contract ceiling of $1.5 million for Council Districts 1 and 13. Coalition for Responsible Community Development in the amount of $580,000 with a contract ceiling of $2.5 million for portions of Council District 9. Gang Alternative Program in the amount of $1,289,340 with a contract ceiling of $2.5 million for graffiti removal services in Council District 15 and portions of CD 8, 9, 14, and the Untagged Strike Force Services. D, Hollywood Beautification Team in the amount of $504,600 with a contract ceiling amount of $1,500,000 for graffiti removal services in Council Districts 4, 5, and 13. Koreatown Youth and Community Center in the amount of $449,500 and a contract ceiling of $1,500,000 for graffiti removal services in portions of CDs 1 and 10. New Directions for Youth for $424,560 with a contract ceiling of $1.5 million for Council Districts 2, 4, and 6. Northeast Graffiti Busters for $1,053,280 with a contract ceiling of $2 million for portions of Council Districts 1, 2, 6, 7, and 14. Pacific Graffiti Solutions in the amount of $375,000 with a contract ceiling of $1.5 million for Council Districts 5 and 11. Sylmar Graffiti Busters for $156,600 with a contract ceiling of $1 million for portions of Council Districts 7 and 12. West Valley Alliance in the amount of $350,000 with a contract ceiling of $2 million for services in Council District 3 with portions of CD 2, 6, and 12. And third, authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract amendments after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. Mr. Roch, you're up, sir. Oh, before you do, Mr. Williams, do you want to go before or after? Go ahead, Dr. Williams.
Okay, Dr. Tom Williams, also with the LA 32 Neighborhood Council. So I'm somewhat sensitive to neighborhood council issues. Your ceiling budget for graffiti will be approximately 5 times bigger than the entire budgets for 99 neighborhood councils. I'm quite concerned about how much money is going out to whom, for what, especially since about 4 months ago, I called one of the listed groups and got a voice message, and they never called back. So I might say, consider the amount of money, compare it with 99 neighborhood councils, each one with 15 to 20 people on it, giving 4 hours a month free to the city of Los Angeles. So I'm quite concerned regarding the Office of Community Beautification, who's helped us in LA 32 neighborhood council area, But I'm quite concerned regarding the budget, and especially when you compare it to 99 neighborhood councils. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. Roch on this item.
Good morning, Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification, which manages the graffiti abatement program for the City of Los Angeles and the contracts with the nonprofit community-based organizations which provide the graffiti removal services. As everyone is likely aware, the prevailing wage legislation has been hampering the efforts of these contractors, forcing them to pay a wage beyond what the city has been able to adequately budget for. Therefore, meaning that they're actually able to put fewer staff hours of graffiti abatement workers out on the streets. This has led to a long and drawn-out process of the city, the nonprofit community-based organizations, the unions, and the state of California all working together to find solutions to the prevailing wage issue and the impact on graffiti removal in the city of Los Angeles. In September of 2019, the California Department of Industrial Relations finally issued new prevailing wage determination for graffiti removal, which would lower the amount required to be paid to the workers in the field from $43 an hour to $29 an hour. This rate is only for new contracts that occur after September of 2019. So this morning, OCB is requesting approval from the Board of Public Works to sole source contracts for graffiti removal. This would allow for the payment of the new prevailing wage rate and save the city an estimated $1.5 million for the remainder of the current fiscal year than if we were to continue to pay the current prevailing wage rate using the current graffiti abatement contracts. These sole source contracts would be in effect until OCB completes the upcoming RFP process and is able to generate new contracts based on a competitive bid process. Current OCB contractors would continue to work in their current geographic areas with no interruption in service. So again, by getting new contracts in place immediately, we will be able to save the city approximately $1.5 million for the remainder of the current fiscal year. Thank you for your attention to this item. I am available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Roch? We'll start with Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. Thanks, Paul, for the presentation, and to your team. I thought the briefing that you provided me yesterday was incredibly helpful, just to provide additional context for why we're doing this specifically. So maybe I'll just ask you just a few of the clarifying questions I asked yesterday that might be helpful for my colleagues. I know that was helpful for me. But do you want to explain, like you did yesterday, the period of time in which OCB is recommending for these new sole source contracts be in place? I know it's a little, the time period, 18 months, as President James mentioned, is slightly longer than what we traditionally have.
Right. So a couple things. We know that when we have the new contracts in place, that there might be some additional funding that comes to OCB, either from some of the transfers from council offices, or we know that there are some upcoming reprogrammed CRA funds that will be coming to OCB. Those funds may not be expended by the end of the fiscal year. And so we want the contract to go long enough so that if those additional funds are in place, come into being, that they won't be in a contract that expires in 7 months. The funding for graffiti removal itself that's being recommended is basically just pulling out what those contractors have graffiti-wise in their current contracts and putting it in to carry them through the remainder of the fiscal year. So in the board report, it listed the actual amounts that would be pulled out of the contracts, but then also did list ceiling amounts, which may or may not be reached in the contracts just depending on, whether additional funds were or were not to be provided for any of these contractors.
And can you also just briefly explain and share what you explained to me yesterday, because there's an overlap for the new sole source contracts and when the new RFP comes out. And so what would happen in that scenario when there's an overlap in contracts?
Right. So it's quite possible that we will have two active contracts at the same time. When we go out to RFP, ideally we will be able to have new contracts in place on July 1st of 2020. And those new contracts would be for the new graffiti abatement, new public right-of-way cleanup funding, whatever that might be. These contracts may still be in existence because there might be some CRA money, former CRA money that we know is going to be forthcoming to OCB that would be in these contracts. It's quite possible that, as we get to the end of the fiscal year, March or April, certain city council offices will transfer funds that the contractors wouldn't be able to expend within a 1 or 2 month period. So we don't want that money to go into a contract, which will then immediately, expire on June 30th. And then we have to worry about that money reverting back to its source, trying to go through council to get approval to then bring it back to OCB and then put it in the new contracts.
Thank you for that explanation. And that was the only thing that I shared with you a little bit of concern in the instance that when there's overlap in the contracts, that the provider for that specific council district may not be the same. And so that's the only piece that it would be great if that situation were to occur, to understand what OCB plans to do in that scenario where there could be an instance of, who do you give the work to, right? Is it the contractor for the sole source that is before us today, or the new contractor, if there is a new one, for the RFP coming out in 2020? And I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the solutions that we can definitely discuss with Mr. Roch is possibly when the new RFP gets released and the new contracts come before this board, when the new contracts kick in, we can terminate the contracts that are before you, the sole source contracts, so that there's a clear disconnect between the old contracts versus the new contracts. That's an option that we can consider, but there's also the option of keeping both contracts going together at the same time, very similar to the Cisco contracts that we have 5 and 6. So as we phase out Cisco contracts, which is your construction improvement contracts that we have on board, as those Cisco contracts get expired, the number 5, and we bring on number 6, we do have both contracts going on at the same time, and sometimes in many cases it's the same vendor that's providing the services. So it'll be very prudent on our part to make sure that we're authorizing the work for a specific contract and making sure that the funding is in place until that contract work is completed so that we can pay our bills.
Thank you.
But that's something that we can consider, and it's a good suggestion.
That was really helpful. Thank you for providing the Cisco example to that. But yeah, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything further? Okay, Commissioner Garcia has made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8. Thank you, Mr. Roch.
Thank you.
Nice
Have a good weekend.
Any issue, you too? Any issue sending number 8 forthwith? We'll send number 8 forthwith. Oh, Dr. Williams, did you get to speak on number 8? You did. We did. Okay. Number 6, approval of monetary donation. The Hollywood Walkability Enforcement Program and 5 parking spots at the Department of Transportation parking facility, recommending that the board adopt the report supporting the acceptance of funds for enforcement. Transmittal of a copy of the report to the City Council with the recommendation that the Council approve acceptance of the donation. It approves 5 parking spots at the Department of Transportation facility at 6801 Hollywood Boulevard and forwards to the mayor for final approval. Mr. Rivera, you'll let us know what's going on.
Good afternoon, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Reps, Mr. City Attorney, and Dr. Campos. David Rivera with Bureau Street Services. I'm here today to request the approval of a monetary donation for the Hollywood Walkability Enforcement Program and 5 parking spots at the DOT parking facility at 6801 Hollywood Boulevard. And recommend that the board adopt the report supporting the acceptance of the funds for enforcement, transmit a copy of this report to the City Council with the recommendation the City Council approves acceptance of the donation, approves the spots, and forwards to the mayor, please. A little background. Donation from the Hollywood Tourism District Overlay Zone, known as the TDOZ, is for the benefit of the Streets LA Investigation and Enforcement Division. IED has a dedicated enforcement team assigned to the Hollywood Walkability Program. Upon approval, the funds will be used to pay for the purchase of equipment for the enforcement of the program. Quotes for the purchase of the equipment have been supplied. The greater Hollywood area attracts large amounts of tourists daily, creating significant sidewalk congestion. In order to mitigate this, the city created a new commercial vending ordinance, LAMC 42.13C.2B, which prohibits vending within 500 feet of the Walk of Fame. The objective of the walkability program is to ensure that the Hollywood area becomes a safe, accessible, and well-maintained visitor destination. Currently, the Hollywood Walkability Program is in need of equipment to effectively support enforcement activity. The donation of funds would be exclusively used for the purchase of communications, permitting system, computers, tablets, laser printers, one vehicle, handheld radios, mountain bikes, and bike uniforms for a bike unit that would be assigned to that area. The estimated value of the equipment and services is $105,086. There is no fiscal impact to the department's budget resulting from the purchase of these items. This donation provides the necessary items to meet the needs of the Hollywood Walkability Program. Replacement or repair of items meeting city specifications and Streets LA business needs to be, may be borne by general fund, subject to budgetary constraints. In addition to the equipment purchase, IED 6 Council approved to obtain 5 parking spots for 4 investigators and 1 city vehicle located at the 6801 Hollywood Boulevard Department of Transportation parking facility. It is crucial that these parking spots are approved, as the investigators assigned to the Hollywood Walkability Detail have a substation at this facility. The Streets LA Investigation Enforcement Division would greatly benefit from the donation and support provided by the TDOZ.
Thanks, Mr. Rivera. The only thing about this, when I first read it, I thought, that's the value of those parking spots? For how long? And then I like, oh, wait, read the next paragraph. And then it tells you what you're getting for the $105,000, which is a donation to us.
Correct.
Which I certainly support. Commissioner Garcia.
I just want to give a big shout out to your team and everybody out there. You guys do really good work on the street, on foot, and all your workers that are out there have a really good presence, one. But second, they really deploy with integrity and representing us well to everybody that they work with. So I was very proud to be part of your ride-along a couple months ago now. But it was really eye-opening and understanding how you deliver the work. And I'm very happy about this donation because I understand what that means to your team and to your department. So I fully support this, and I wish you guys a lot of luck in deploying out what you guys are all trying to do in Hollywood as well. And hopefully we can eventually expand that to the rest of the city. But for now, we'll take it in Hollywood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Was that a motion? Yes. Okay, then I'll second it on agenda item number 6. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. Number 9, motion to approve NASCO Petroleum LLC abandonment plan, the Office of the State Fire Marshal Pipeline Abandonment Notification, franchise agreement ordinance, recommending that the board approve the pipeline abandonment plan submitted on November 8th, 2019 of a 6.625-inch, 2.89-mile pipeline. The ordinance number's there. Secondly, approve a provision that if NASCO Petroleum LLC fails to perform, then the Board of Public Works is allowed to start the abandonment process and bill NASCO for the services. Example, authorizing the executive officer and petroleum administrator to commence or complete remaining steps, instruct BOE to issue permit to reduce any further delays. I would also note there was an oral report update on this that took place on November 8th. That was an oral report, but we had the item to be voted on today. Mr. Williams, you have a card in. Dr. Williams, on number 9.
Dr. Tom Williams, Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community. Pipelines? Oh, interesting. We're developing an issue regarding, hey, who owns the pipeline after they abandoned it? The city of Los Angeles. You gave them a franchise to go through our property. Question, almost 3 miles of pipeline. Did it ever leak? Question. How do you know if it leaks? Well, you can do a video scan through the pipe, but might say you also should do some inspection along the outside, because the Ross Dress for Less store blew up because of vapors coming up through the storm drains, because the bedding provides a good conduit for gases in the soil that get into the storm drains through the bedding. Problem: who's responsible? Once the franchisee, leasee vacates and or declares bankruptcy, the owner of the property under underground storage tank case law becomes responsible. That is the city of Los Angeles. Do we have any provisions in this abandonment that if anything happens in the future, that the bond might be actuated, and at least some of the costs of removing of the pipeline and backfilling with clean soil might be compensated in the future? So it's a question. You got 3 miles of pipeline. Did it leak? If it did leak, we're responsible for it, and we have to pay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Ms. Blyther, I don't know that there's anything additional to add from your office. I would only add to the record that we had the oral presentation last week. NASCO was here. We made a record during the oral presentation regarding a 6-month date. We put a date on the calendar for the updated on the implementation of their plan that your office has placed before us for recommendation today after the oral report that we had last week. Anything that we need to add on top of what I've just summarized?
I don't believe so. So we just did add the provision that if they do not, if they don't complete the work, then we're able to complete it. So we did add that as item number 2. So approve the abandonment plan, and then to approve that if NASCO fails to perform, then the Board of Public Works will be allowed to start the abandonment process and bill NASCO. Oh, sorry. That the Board of Public Works will be allowed to commence and complete any remaining steps. So that's
All
the
right.
only addition.
Anything, Dr. Campos?
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. And the reason we added that provision is just in case the NASCO does not come through with the completion of the abandonment plan. We want to be ready to go so that we can complete the project wherever they dropped off, or if they never began the abandonment, we can go ahead and do so. But we want to start capturing the expenditures that are related to that abandonment process, and then figure out a way to bill them back for those expenses.
Okay. Got it. Well, thank you. I know, again, we had the oral presentation of it last week during the oral report, but it's before us now for approval. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 9 as stated, seconded by Commissioners Garcia and Villegas. Any objection? Without objection, that'll be the order on number 9. Ms. Blyther, your office can let NASCO know. They may have been listening in. They knew it was coming up today. So, any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 9 forthwith. That takes us to number 10. Our status update on major upcoming street improvement projects. Dr. Campos, we have cleared the desk on voting items, correct?
On voting items, yes.
Okay. Number 10, street services. Mr. Kempton.
Hi, good morning, and almost afternoon.
Almost.
Almost. President James, Commissioner, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, Executive Secretary, I am David Kempton from Streets LA. In order to keep the public informed on upcoming resurfacing projects, and to minimize the impact on the community as well as delays to the commuters, Streets LA would like to provide you with an update on all major upcoming street improvements. So in the metro area on Saturday, November 16th and 17th, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on each day, we will cold mill and pave Venice Boulevard from Vermont Avenue to Normandy through our Complete Streets program in CD1 in the South Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. Also on Saturday, November 16th and 17th from 6 a to 6 p, we'll cold mill and pave Los Feliz Boulevard from Vermont Avenue to Western Avenue through our pavement preservation program in CD4 in the Los Feliz Neighborhood Council. Now, our Valley Region crews will be handling that project in the metro area. On Saturday, November 23rd, and Sunday, November 24th, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Venice Boulevard from Malvern Avenue, that jogs at Cortland Avenue, to Vermont Avenue. This is through our Complete Streets program in CD1 in the South Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. Okay, there are no projects scheduled at this time in the Valley area. Press releases were broadcasted, work notifications have been issued, and Streets LA has coordinated with the council district offices to assist with outreach to our stakeholders. Also, we coordinated with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kempton. We'll start with Commissioner Villegas.
I just wanted to commend you on your outreach on these street closures, because as a parent that takes her son to Saturday classes at Loyola, we were already notified that that whole area is going to be impacted. So I'll just have to figure out a route.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Anything else? Thank you. And again, I will mention for the record, this report also finds its way to the entertainment industry. They appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, sir. The oral report will be received. Agenda item number 11, oral report on our Petroleum and Natural Gas Administration safety update. We will start with Dr. Williams. You have a card in on number 11.
Dr. Tom Williams, Sierra Club, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, where are we going with this? The Oil and Gas Administrator, I hope she's going to be reasonable. Okay, we have several issues facing us right now. Part of my background was the Ross Dress for Less store, where I spent 72 hours of chargeable time in 3 calendar days and got paid for it. 22 people were in the hospital. Gas had escaped from a source. Oh, by the way, has anyone ever been in the Wilshire Courtyard complex on Wilshire near Fairfax? I don't go in there because I saw the oil well that they capped over in the side of the excavation. So there's a lot of issues regarding oil and gas. And I don't go into Redline Phase 1 anymore, although I was part of the construction management of it, because it leaks gas. So there's a lot of gas issues. But we have one issue where the Playa del Rey gas storage facility underlies large numbers of residential units. The recent blowout at the Marina del Rey facility that was under construction just highlighted that there are 4 houses within Marina del Rey, City of Los Angeles, that have unplugged wells under them. So there's many issues regarding oil and gas. I hope to help as I can in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Ms. Blyther. I know we've had kind of updates in the last couple of 2-3 meetings, but go ahead.
Great. So I believe you all have a copy, or you're currently
Yes.
getting a copy. Well, thank you, President and members and staff. So this quarter includes some of October as well, because it's some wrap-up of a few different items. So under Petroleum and Administration, on the second page, you'll see we've gone through one of the big efforts of the office is working on Council File 170447, and that was for the health and oil well and gas drill setback report, as well as health issues. And so that one took a significant amount of effort. That was finally completed on July 29th. And there are a few slides we're going to go through explaining exactly what was found in the report. And subsequent to that, there were several meetings with City Council. So we met with Council District 5, Council District 4, Council District 13. We met with the Valley Industry Commerce Division as well as Department Chief Sustainability Officers all about this report. And then we were at the Energy, Climate Change, and Environmental Justice Committee on October 15th. There were a number of leaks at the Allen Cove drill site. We have regular meetings with the Allen Cove drill site stakeholders, on monthly meetings, and some leaks were identified in September. And again, there'll be further slides on that. And so there were increased meetings with the public as well as enforcement. We completed interim citywide drill site annual inspections and desk audits, and that was something that our safety side of the office went through, looked at permit conditions, wells, and things related to each of the drill sites. We have continued to have meetings with LA counties, Inglewood Oilfield, Baldwin Hills. So there are monthly meetings there as well as a new effort. They're doing their own health report and oil and gas study there. And we had a number of external agency meetings. Oh, the current petroleum administrator is here if he wants to continue with this report. I was just starting, but just going through the highlights. But we've continued to work with the county in a number of aspects. So we've worked with them for their own development of their oil and gas office, as well as strike team meetings. And we've had some interagency meetings with Senator Feinstein's office, as well as recently all-day training in Long Beach at the Dogger offices. And we joined a number of different agencies talking about all the issues related to oil wells. And as Uduak has mentioned, it's so many different agencies that touch the issue of oil. So it was an all-day training session. It was very helpful, as Uduak said, to meet people face to face. Pipeline franchises, O'Donnell Oil has been fined for noncompliance with insurance requirements. NASCO, as you're familiar with and just agreed to, is they're working on their abandonment plan. And we had a meeting about the Southern California Gas Franchise negotiation team. I don't know if they're, yeah, so I kind of just did a few highlights, but.
Thank you for the recording. This is Uduak Joe, Kentucky Patrol Administrator. Thank you, Erica, for covering the first portion of the quarterly report, going over the different policy, Patrol Administration, pipeline franchise sections. If you go to the next two big items that were at this last quarter, there was a tar oil seepage spill over by La Brea tar pits that we had several weeks of investigation, cleanup. We had to do a notice to the Governor's Office of Emergency Services because it was more than the quantity of 1 barrel of oil that was that had leaked out into the street. And so there's a picture there of the spill, and they put absorbent on it, and it's called a vacuum truck comes and sucks up what's all there. There's along Wilshire there is approximately 18 different subsurface oil sumps that were built by Bureau of Engineering in the 1980s. And so they're kind of collection basins that weekly there's a contractor through street services goes and sucks out and cleans out. And this is the natural seeping of, we call it tar, but it's really crude oil that's coming out in the grass at La Brea tar pits that has the woolly mammoth and the saber-toothed tiger exhibit. This is just a natural surface expression. But in these places is where it comes out most frequently and is cleaned up. And it's been cleaned up for many decades in this way by the city. But we just had an event. We don't know why. There was more seepage at that time. If you go to the next slide, Allen Cove drill site off of 23rd Street, we experienced a series of leaks that was discovered through a routine inspection both by the fire department and Dogger. They were pinhole leaks, so there was no imminent threat to health or safety, but we actually couldn't see it unless you got right down in the 6-foot well cellar with the flare camera. A flare camera lets you see hydrocarbon emissions that's not visible to the naked eye. And that was originally the first one discovered on one of the wellheads, but in the subsequent days, AQMD came out, checked the system, found additional leaks. They tried to use the micro turbines. There was additional leaks. They got up to 12, a dozen different leaking points throughout their system. They were issued about 25 violations, 21 from the fire department, 22 from the fire department, at least 3 from AQMD. Dogger issued a notice of violation. This did go to court on October 23rd from City Attorney's Environmental Justice Unit, and the judge ordered them to follow all safety rules and regulations outlined in the judgment, but also follow all local, state, and federal laws. They have still not come in and got their entire fire life safety system permitted, and they were directed to follow the Dogger order, which instructs them to do what's called pickling the wells. So they basically put corrosion inhibited fluid, a water column in the wells. You're basically just pumping water down the hole, and that creates enough hydrostatic head that the subsurface pressure can't come up. So there would be no future leaks while the site has been idled. And it has been idled for more than 5 years. But there's a summary of just the different agencies that were involved, the different violations. There's some pictures there. And Dogger is still working to enforce the order with the Allen Co. Drill Site Company. If you go forward, we did in the last quarter release our much anticipated oil and gas health report / setback report that covered a wide variety of topics. There was a lot of
Definitely
discussion.
much anticipated.
Yes, much anticipated. But there were 11 things that the council asked for that was adopted and voted on, directed by the full council. So that first slide there, this is Council File 170447, itemizes what exactly did they ask for. Health and impacts, inventory, how many drill sites, what is the county health department recommendation, where do we import oil from to LA refineries, what is those countries' human rights and environmental standards, what is the economic impact of a potential setback, and there's a variety of different ways a setback can be implemented. So this is really a policymaker decision now of, do you do a setback that would end operations in a certain radius? Do you do a setback that has enhanced mitigations in a certain radius? Do you do a setback where you make people move and do eminent domain and move out from a certain radius? There's a variety of different ways that can be implemented. This has never been done at the local level in California where a setback impacted existing production. We did do an assessment of setback distances around the country, and it is not an apples for apples comparison. And just for discussion's sake, Maryland has 2,000 feet setback from oil wells. They only have 10 oil wells in the entire state, and they're all natural gas, and they're not by any people. So, they are pioneering in their distance, but impacts nobody. So, it's nebulous depending on how it goes. We did include a summary of the county health department's recommendation. They did issue a report in February of 2018 that was about 8 months delayed. But they went through and itemized there should be some setback distance, at least 300 feet. They said there should be fence line air monitoring. Additional studies need to be done. They look at the epidemiological research in oil and gas, and primarily out of state, Texas, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Colorado, which is different types of oil and gas operations. Those studies all look at hydraulic fracturing. They don't look at conventional oil and gas operations or like we have low pressure water injection operations. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. And that is not the entire library of science out there. But they did do an epidemiological review for the county. And then we hired a consultant, PSE Healthy Energy, who on the next slide did 2 reports for us, trying to connect it to the city of LA and our operations. They came back looking at the research is also inconclusive, that there's not a single distance. There's no correlation of information around 2,500 foot, 1,000 feet, 500 feet. It varies from site to site, and that we need to do more studies specifically in LA, site by site, to be able to have, if we're going to do a health-based setback, we have to do those health studies. And so there's a summary of there. This is all on the council file. This is a compilation of more than 60,000 pages of documents. There's 140 attachments in the council file that itemize each of the reports that we reviewed, that people submitted. We had a special hearing before the Health Commission, then went 3 hours with 100 public comment makers that submitted documents, email documents that we included, so that everyone could see the different perspectives that were shared from economic studies and health studies. So if you go, there's a listing of all the setbacks around the country in a table. Then we do have the oil and crude oil imports to California and Los Angeles. Into LA, we import from Angola, Canada, Colombia, Ecuador, Iraq, Mexico, Panama, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Korea, and Uruguay. All come into the ports of Long Beach and LA. The majority of imports come into the port of Long Beach. The port of LA actually exports refined products, which is diesel, jet fuel, gasoline for export, and much of that also is sent down to San Diego for their needs. But we import in our twin ports about 130 million barrels of crude oil a year, and we produce in LA about 2 million barrels. So we substantially more locally is imported. On the next slide is a summary of the potential economic costs. We looked at, if there was a takings litigation, if there was costs associated with abandonment, remediation costs, legal costs, and we tried to summarize, and then we took the different economic studies and the range of jobs that could be impacted. So our total cost projection was about $725 million. It's potential. It's not imminent. It's, there's ways that maybe we just don't clean up the sites and they sit there for decades. We don't pay that cost. If we don't abandon the wells, about $150 million to abandon the wells, they just sit there and no one pays the cost. And we have between 575 to 1,221 jobs potentially impacted. So you're thinking about the quantity of jobs, and there's been much conversation about jobs and tax revenue and economic impact. So this is a summary table, but there are dozens of documents attached, and there's a section in the report that's all about economics, maybe about 10, 12 pages of the 150-page report. The last slide itemizes the 11 recommendations we had. We presented this last month on October 15th to the Energy, Climate Change, and Environmental Justice Committee of the City Council. We recommended for existing production 600 feet, for future production 1,500 feet. We asked that the city attorney do a report back legal analysis on implementing either or both of those options. We also called for the modernization of the oil code, adding enhanced operating conditions. One of the things the council asked for was what are mitigations that can be done. So there's probably 30 pages of EIR documents summarized in the report of things that the mitigations that can be put into the code immediately to reduce, minimize, or eliminate potential emissions. County recommended they do health risk assessments at each drill site. Also, there's an enhanced preparation, emergency preparation community safety plans that we can put into ordinance separate from the fire department for each community adjacent to a drill site. There are studies going on by the state, SNAPS and AB 617. SNAPS is study of neighborhoods adjacent to petroleum sites. They are looking for the first time at all the potential toxic air emissions that could come from a site and what quantities are found. So they're in Kern County right now, but they're coming to LA this spring, and they'll be looking at Baldwin Hills as part of the Baldwin Hills health study that Erica mentioned earlier that's happening. We have the ability to designate this fire department with health officer authority, which gives us more powers in litigation and enforcement action. There's also the hazardous waste generator program the county manages on our behalf. There's revenue and job positions that could be transferred to the city, to LAFT. This is in the chief's strategic plan. that matches up, what actually gives us more enforcement ability over drill sites in the event of a spill or oil leak, that we would have funding to be able to respond quicker. We currently have the county under program improvement because they have not been able to inspect all of our sites and be as responsive as we would like. Lastly, adding to the legislative agenda of the city of identifying more funding so that we can do these studies, that we can evaluate abandonment costs, that we can fund oversight. Which rolls into the last one, I call it Pareto's Law, the 80-20 rule. Let's find additional revenue. Whatever the 80% the city wants to do with, great, but give 20% to the Office of Petroleum, Natural Gas, and Safety so that we can continue to have funding to do oversight, that we can have money to do environmental assessments, cost assessments, engineering studies that we currently don't have and that we have to compete for out of the general fund with everyone else in the city. So we get about $400 million a year in oil royalties that are just derived from the operations and the lease agreements. We should put it in a restricted fund. All the other cities and counties that have oil operations, Santa Barbara, Long Beach, Signal Hill, are all funded through the activities and the operations of the oil industry. We do not have that set up. And we also recommended a barrel tax. We do not have a barrel tax. The county has a 40-cent barrel tax. Long Beach has I think it's 50-cent a barrel tax. Signal Hill's at like 67 cents a barrel. We used to have a barrel tax, and it went away in the charter reform of the 2000s. But that revenue could help with cleanup costs and assessments and staffing. And November of 2020 is an ideal electorate to consider such a measure. So that's a summary of the health report and what we've done the last 3 months of the mid-year. And we'll open the floor for any questions.
Thank you, Uduak. I would just one question on the barrel tax that you referenced. Any indication as to whether or not the council's going to consider that or move on that prior to the time needed to be on the November ballot or even the March ballot?
Yeah, I have heard that there is interest. The last time it came out of the council was in 2010 when now Supervisor Hahn was Councilwoman Hahn. It goes through the committees. There's an evaluation that needs to be done by the CAO's office. I don't know what the deadline is for council to submit an item for the November ballot. I know we're getting close to the deadline right now for the March ballot, but usually it's kind of the summer before that needs to be done. When I reviewed the last barrel tax projection, I found some flawed logic in how they derived it. And the projections, it would not generate the amount of revenue that they had projected at the time. But also now, this is the first time we have data of how much oil is being produced, that we can actually do a better job of making an assessment of the rate. And it was $1.41 a barrel in 2010. I have no idea how they got to that. It didn't rationally make sense. It should be probably somewhere between 50 cents and $1 and connected to what's called Producer Price Index. It's Bureau of Labor Statistics tracking that is basically as oil price goes up, or the value of the commodity goes up, the tax goes up. And so it's almost kind of like a windfall profit tax sharing type agreement versus you put it on CPI, it's very small, long increased rate over time. And you don't, when oil price goes up, it doesn't correlate with CPI. So if the council were to ask me in recommendation, it would be do an assessment of the other ones and realize we're the biggest city in the state, so we should be at the top, and then it connected to what's called Producer Price Index for future fluctuations as it goes.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you for your thorough report, both staff. I appreciate it. So this is interesting, and I am glad that you were able just to itemize all the recommendations. I'm wondering, what is the next step? Is there action from this board Is it that we need to at least like have conversations with the council to push this forward? I mean, I'm sure it's just a combination. You have many good recommendations here, and as you mentioned, the tax, you know, is that something that we need to get pollsters on? Is there an interest? Is there, or should we convene additional meetings, you know, with our lessees to be able to, you know, check their pulse so we don't get an immediate, like, you know, contention with them? All those issues, or you know, what is it that we should do next? I'm glad that you have on here the designation of a health office authority. I know that that is something that needs legislative, you know, legislation, you know, with the state to be able to give us the authority, you know, local. So I don't know where that is now, but those are things that, you know, they're probably in your report. We can look into more detail, but there's a lot here.
We'll get you a printed copy
Yeah.
of the report. When we had a hearing on the 15th, it was just a discussion. There was no action taken at the hearing. We had about 4 hours of public comment, for and against, with different issues brought up. Councilwoman Martinez indicated she was going to introduce a motion to look at the legal analysis of it, which would match with recommendation number 3. I know it can come back. It's going to come back in committee. It's the council's prerogative. This is a council request, independent from the board. So the board could take action and recommend and inquire, but it's council prerogative of how they're going to move forward. And in discussions with the city attorney, depending on how they move forward, there is some immediate or potentially immediate litigation. And so looking at how do you implement a setback in a way that minimizes liability and litigation and potential costs to taxpayers. There is several different legal avenues that could go, and that's really the unknown. That no one's done this before. On the health officer authority, we don't need a state law. We just need the county to. They have the ability to designate from the county to the city, and so the county fire department, the city.
Health officer?
Yeah, the health officer authority. I've already had those conversations. It just needs to be directed and drafted up and done and specified on, or what are the terms of it, and what's the period, and what's the scope of the health officer authority. Is it just for oil and gas sites? Is it for all hazardous sites? And so those are additional work that needs to be done to flesh through exactly how that would be implemented. But the county has the ability to do that today. They don't need to go do any state legislation.
Thank you. Anything further? The oral report will be received. Thank you, sir, and good luck going forward. Talk to you soon. Ms. Blyther, thank you very much, and we'll be working with you directly going forward with this transition. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. The oral report will be received. And have we cleared the desk, Dr. Campos?
Yes, you have.
Then we are adjourned, everyone. Have a nice weekend.